We'll go to chapter 19, trade unions. So when we talk about trade unions, we're talking about a group of workers coming together to protect their interests. We said it yesterday. Yes. It's an organization set up by a group of workers to protect their interests. So let's see what they say here. They say types of trade unions. Trade unions are associations of workers formed to represent their interests and improve their pay and working conditions. So we have this group of trade union members, we have this organization to protect the interests of workers in terms of their salaries, in terms of their working conditions. So that's why we have trade unions. So they bargain with employers. So there are different types of trade unions. The first one, craft unions. This represents workers with particular skills. You know, craft, that means you have a specific skill. So group of workers, group of people that have specific skills coming together to protect their interests are called craft unions. We have the general unions, which comprises of all different range of skills. We have the industrial unions. This talks about different industry, like the educational industry, the rail industry, the transportation industry, the health industry, and so on. So these are what we call industrial unions. Then we have the white collar unions. We're talking about the banks, the teachers, the lawyers, and I think it's clear. Yes, okay. Now we go down. The goal of the trade unions. Trade unions carry out a number of functions. They negotiate on behalf of their members on wages, job security, working hours, and working conditions. So again, they said trade unions have different functions. So one of their functions is to negotiate on behalf of their members. So if you are not part of their members, they won't negotiate for you. You have to be part of the members of the trade union. Then they can protect your interest. The second function is you negotiate with your employers regarding your job security. You won't lose your job easily. The third thing is the working hours. They ensure that your employer is not cheating you or exploiting you. The fourth one, working conditions. They want to ensure that the working environment is conducive for their members. I think it's clear. Yes. They also provide information on a range of issues for their members. For example, on pensions, they help with education and training schemes, and they also participate in measures designed to increase demand for the products produced and earns for labor. So what they're saying here is that trade union does not only negotiate with employers, also they carry out other functions like training their members. Do you understand? They train their members, they help them with their pension schemes, they guide them on how to go about their pensions. So these are what they do. They help educate, okay, we talked about that. And some trade unions also provide a range of benefits to their members, including strike pay, legal advice, sickness pay. So the trade unions also, try to pay their members, maybe when there's a strike, when the trade union calls for a strike. When there's a strike, it means production activity stops. So employers might not want to pay you. The trade union may pay you. That is the point I'm making. I think it's clear. Yes. So in addition, many get involved in pressurizing their government to adopt legislation that will benefit their members or workers in general, such as fixing the national minimum wage. So the trade union also negotiates with government, they pressurize government to increase the minimum wage. And as soon as that is done, they pressurize employers to pay their members the national minimum wage. Is it clear? Yes. So we go to collective bargaining. An individual worker may not have the skill, time, or willingness to negotiate with her or his employer. The worker is also likely to have limited bargaining power. If she or he presses for a wage rise or an improvement in working conditions, the employer may be able to dismiss her or him and take on someone as replacement. Trade unions enable workers to press their claims through collective bargaining. This means the process involving negotiation between the union officials representing a group of workers and the employers. So when you talk about collective bargaining, there's bargaining. Bargaining means you are negotiating with your employers. You individually, you are personally negotiating with your employers. There are some situations when you have to negotiate with your employers see it as it doesn't go well with them. They could kick you out. That is the point about you negotiating personally with your employers. But when you do it with the trade union, The trade union is a group, it's an organization that is legal, that the employers would listen to. So that's why with in June, they said one of the advantages of having a trade union is their unity in diversity. They have different members. These different members, they come together to become one.
They have more power.
The more they have more power.
Yes.
So they are representing group of people, not like you representing yourself alone. When you are when you are representing yourself, you're not that powerful like group of people coming together to represent you. That is what we call collective bargaining. Collective bargaining means the trade union, through its representative, is negotiating on behalf of its member with the employers. That is what we call collective bargaining. So which is an advantage. Is it clear?
Yes.
Now we go to the basis of wage claims. There are numbers of arguments a trade union can put forward while asking for a wage rise. So what they are saying here is, what are the conditions that would enable the trade union to negotiate for an increase in your wages? You are their member, yes. So it's their duty. It's the duty of the trade union to negotiate an increase in salary for you if you think you deserve it. So what are the conditions that would warrant the trade union to be able to negotiate a salary or a wage increase for you?
You need to have a reason.
Yeah, so these are the basis of wage claims. The first one. One is that the worker deserves to be paid more because they have been working harder and have increased productivity. So one of the reasons why the trade union can negotiate for you and can have a hedge over your employers is that you have been working harder and your productivity has increased. So that means it's justifiable. The second one. Another argument is that an industry whose profits have risen can afford to pay higher wages to its workers. This argument may be linked to the first one, as the workers are likely to have contributed to the higher profits. So another wage claim is true profits.
Yes.
So if the firm or if the industry is witnessing profit, so there's no reason why you won't be able to, there's no reason why you can't afford to pay your workers, because your workers would have contributed to that profit that your organization is making. So the trade union will negotiate, because it is seen, it is widely known that the industry is making a lot of profit. So if the industry is making a lot of profit, that means firms in that industry are making profits. So there's no reason why you won't be able to increase the salary of your workers. That is the second point. Is it clear?
Yes.
The third argument is known as the comparability argument. A union may argue that the workers it represents should receive a pay rise to keep their pay in line with similar workers. So the trade union could compare worker A in company A with worker B in company B. Oh, this individual is working here. He's doing almost the same thing as that individual getting higher pay there. They are in the same industry. He's doing the same thing as him. Why are you not paying him as that? That's what we call comparability argument. Is it clear?
Yes.
The fourth one that's often put forward is that workers need a wage rise to meet the increased cost of living. So if the living cost is increasing, the trade union has the right to, to talk or to negotiate with employers to increase workers' in salary so that they can meet up with the increase in cost of living. For example, in Nigeria, there's removal of subsidy. There's removal of subsidy on fuel. So on pump price. As a result, the cost of transportation increases. The cost of living increases generally.
Yes.
So the trade union in Nigeria, we call them the National Union of the National Labor Union or National Labor Congress, NLC. So the National Labor Congress, yes, they are trying to pressurize the government of Nigeria to increase salary of work employers,
Yes.
so that at least they can be able to sort or to manage that increase in cost of production, because there's inflation around the country.
Is there a trade union here?
There should be, yes.
I think there.
There are trade unions for doctors and the rest. Is it clear?
Yes.
So these are the arguments about wage claims. The first one is that the employer
They work hard because
the first one is that the employer is working so hard. Sorry, I didn't use the video. That's why. The first one is that the employer is working so hard and is increasing its productivity. That's one of the reasons why you should increase the salary. The second one is that the industry is making the profit. That means firms in that industry are making a lot of profit. So there's no reason why you shouldn't increase the salary of your employees, yes, sir. The third one is that the cost of living. If the cost of living is increasing day by day, it is important for employers to increase employees' salary. Is it
And
clear?
comparability.
And comparability argument, where the trade union have to compare workers in company A with workers in company B or C
Yes.
to negotiate for their members. Is it clear?
Yes.
Any questions about that?
No.
So go to the factors affecting the strength of a trade union. Are you there?
Yes.
So, among the factors which empower a trade union are one, a high level of economic activity. If output and income in the country are increasing, most industries are likely to be doing well, and so should be able to improve the pay and conditions of workers. When output reaches high levels and most people who want to work are employed, firms will be competing for workers to retain their existing workers and to recruit more workers. Firms are likely to be more willing to agree to unions' requests for higher pay and better working conditions. So the first point about the factors that affect the strength of the trade union is high level of economic activity. If there's high level of economic activity in the country, it means output is increasing in such country. And if output is increasing in such country, the demand for goods and services in such country is also what? Increasing. So firms might need to employ more workers. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So because they need to employ more workers, they need to pay more salary. And for them to be able to do that, the trade union, because the trade union understand that the economic activity is booming, they might negotiate for workers to have a better working condition or conducive environment and better salary. So these things might make employers to accept or agree with the trade union because they are making money.
Yes, yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
And they wouldn't want the trade union to come up with strike that would disturb or that would disrupt their activity.
Economic.
Yeah. The second one, a high number of members. The more members the union has, the more funds it is likely to have to finance its activities. Also, the employers will find it difficult to replace union labor by non-union labor in such a scenario. If the number of members are increasing in the trade union, because to become a member, you have to pay certain amount of money to become a member. It's expensive to become a member. So if the number of trade union members are increasing, that means they're having more strength, more power, and they're having more finance. So they'll be able to negotiate better. That means they are stronger, and employers will not have any other choice than to listen to them. Is it clear? The third one, a high level of skill. Representing skilled workers are in a relative strong position, as it can be difficult to replace their workers with other skilled workers and are expensive to train unskilled workers. Another factor that influences the strength of trade union is if they have skillful members. If they have skilled members. If they have skilled members, that means they have special members. These skilled members are difficult to replace. So that means they will have a better opportunity, a better chance of negotiating for them. Employers would not want to. Do you think your company would want to kick the best staffs away?
No.
Your company will not want to kick the best staff away. As a result, they want to retain them, which means they will listen to the trade union. And it is difficult to train unskilled workers to become skilled. It is expensive to train them. So as a result of that, you would want to do with those you have so that you don't start wasting money on training. That's the second point. Is it clear?
Yes.
The third point, a consistent demand for the product produced by the workers. So union represent workers, making goods and services that are essential to consumers are in a strong position to bargain because they are providing goods and services that members need. So if you don't have them, we said the demand for workers is derived demand.
Yes.
The demand for workers is derived demand. So that means workers are needed because they want to produce certain goods or they want to provide certain services. Yes or no?
Yes.
So if the trade union has members whose demand for their services or what they produce is always increasing, so it makes them to have a better chance to negotiate or to bargain. Do you get the point or not? You're not, okay. They said a consistent demand for the products produced by the workers. Unions that represent workers making goods and services that are essential to consumers are in strong position to bargain. Workers are those who produce goods and services, yes or no?
Yes.
Workers are those who operate, who try to bring out these goods and services. Okay. These workers, if the demand for the goods they produce or the services they render is always increasing, it means their service is inevitable. It means without them, people will not be able to, consumers will not be able to get goods and services. And remember, we said the demand for labor is what? A derived demand. That means we have these workers because they have to provide goods and services. So if these workers that we have that are providing goods and services, the demand for what they produce is increasing, and they are members of the trade union, it means that the trade union will be able to negotiate for them better. Do you get it?
Yes, yes.
They are working, and the demand for what they do is always increasing, and they are in the trade union. So it means that the trade union will have a strong negotiating power, bargaining power when it comes to negotiating with their employers, because their employers would not want to lose them. If their employers lose them, they are losing their productivity.
Yes, 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 yes.
So that is the point they are making here. So if the members of the trade union are those who are always, which the products they produce or the services they render are always in demand, it gives the trade union a negotiating power over their employers.
It's like this worker is essential for the firms.
The elders.
The worker. It's like, for example, the worker is essential for the
Yeah,
firm.
the workers are essential, but we're talking about workers that the demand for what they do is always increasing, not workers that they don't do anything.
Yeah, because they're hardworking. That's it.
Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
That is the point they are making there. Clear? Favorable government legislation. A union will be in a stronger position if laws allow trade union to take industrial action. So, what we're saying here is that if the government laws
Yes.
is favorable to trade union, that means they will become stronger. If they are backed by government, it makes them to become more stronger. That is the point there. Sorry. You get the point I'm making? If the trade union has government backings, they will be so strong. It means nobody would say no to them because the government says yes to them. Clear, right? Now we go to industrial action. So when we talk about industrial action, he said if negotiation breaks down on wage claims or dispute of over working conditions, there's a range of industrial actions that can be initiated by a union in support of its claims. When you talk about industrial action, it only means that workers have disrupted operations, production stops.
Strike. It's
Huh?
like a strike.
Strike.
Yes.
An example of industrial action is strike. There are different types of industrial action. There's strike, there's sit down, there's strike, is it sit down? There are different types of strike, industrial action. We have strike, sit down.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah, I forgot a lot of
Yes,
those things, but we're going to get them here. So this industrial action, yeah, there's another one we call, here, you only act based on your contractual agreement. You don't do more than what your contract is saying.
Yes, yes,
You could stop over time too.
yes, I get
Do you
it.
understand? Okay. So here they said, industrial action can be initiated by a union in support of its claim. There could be an overtime ban with workers refusing to work longer than their contractual hours. Workers may also work to rule. Work to rule means that I am not going to do more than what is stated in my contract. So normally if I'm supposed to work from 8 to 2 o'clock, that is my contract.
Yes.
But I usually work till 3 o'clock. I don't complain about it. Do you understand? But because there's industrial action, I could use work to rule.
Or they can give you more wage.
Yeah, that is what the government, that is what causes the problem now.
Yes.
Listen, industrial action will not come if everything goes well with the trade union and the employers. But when things don't go, when things break down, when negotiation breaks down, when there is dispute, when there's conflict, between employers and the trade union regarding their members. The trade union will come up with industrial action. So one of the type of industrial actions the trade union can come up with is work to rule. Work to rule means that you won't do anything outside your contractual agreement with your employer. So everything about your contract of employment, that is the only thing you work on. So if your contract says 8 to 2 o'clock, you won't work 8 to 2:05. You leave at 2 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Maybe normally when you are out for a teacher, like maybe after school, I still attend to some students because there's industrial action, there's work to do. After school, I will not attend to students. I only respect my contractual agreement. That is work to do. Is it clear?
Yes, yes, it is.
The most well-known form of industrial action is the strike. And when we talk about strikes, it means workers are withdrawing from labor. They are not working. They stop working. They stop. That is strike. A strike can be official or unofficial. An official strike is one which is approved and organized by the union. In contrast, an unofficial strike is one which has not been approved by the union. This can occur when the strike is called by local union representatives and it's over before the union has the time to approve it, or in the cases when the union does not agree with the action. Strike action can be measured in 3 ways. But before we go there, what they are saying is this. There's official strike. This one, the trade union stamped it, initiated it, approved it. But if it is unofficial, it means it's the local, maybe the state union, not the national union. Do you understand? It could be from the state level. That is unofficial. In as much as the trade union did not attestate to or stamp it, it is unofficial. Is it clear?
Yes.
So they said strike action can be measured in 3 ways. One, the number of strikes, the number of workers involved, the number of working days lost. So these are the ways in which you can measure strike action. The number of strikes. How many strikes have we gone through this year? How many workers are involved in the strike? How many days were the strike about? Is it clear?
Yes.
Any question about that?
No.
So go to influences on supply of labor. So when I talk about supply of labor, we're talking about supply of labor is what the number of workers firms are willing to employ at a given wage rate. No, sorry, I'm sorry. Supply of labor is the total number of workers that are willing to work at a given wage rate. That is supply of labor or supply of workers. Is it clear?
Work is
The number of workers
forgiven.
that are making themselves available for jobs, that are making themselves available for jobs at a given wage rate. That is supply of workers. Huh?
Workforce.
Workforce, yes.
Yes, same.
Workforce are the people that are working.
Yes, but supply of labor.
The number of workers that are making themselves available for job.
Employment.
The number of people who want to get employed.
Yes. But they are not
Employed yet.
But unemployed people. That's it.
No, they are not
It's not the
unemployed
same.
people. It's not. You don't call them unemployed people. Supply of labor. There's unemployed people, yes.
Yes.
But the meaning of supply of labor is the number of workers that are making themselves available for job at a given wage rate.
Oh, yeah.
That is supply of labor.
Yes.
So, besides negotiating and taking industrial action, trade unions can seek to raise the wages of its members by restricting the entry of new workers into the industry, occupation or craft. The trade union can reduce the number of workers going to the industry because they want the employers to increase the salary of workers. You know, employers might opt to employ new workers instead of increasing the salaries of existing workers. The trade union can stop that. So they won't allow you to employ more workers, rather increase the salary of the existing ones. That is the point there. Is it clear? Now go to the advantages and disadvantages of trade union membership. Are you there?
Yes.
So we'll go to advantages now. Advantages and disadvantages of trade union membership. One, firms and workers. Firms can be harmed by industrial action undertaken by trade unions. The amount of revenue loss and damage done to the reputation of a particular firm by a strike will be influenced by the effect on rival firms and the length of the strike. Firms and workers. When workers go on strike, it affects firms. How does it affect them? One, they're going to lose revenue because they're not going to be making sales. And two, it might destroy their reputation, especially when they are supposed to deliver goods to their customers and because they fail to deliver those goods as a result of strike. Do you get it?
Yes.
And also another influence on it is their rivals. How does that strike affect their rivals? If it does not affect their rivals, then it becomes a problem for them. Do you understand what you're saying here?
Why does it affect them then the right?
You know, their rival firms might not, their rivals
Yes.
might not be having members as trade union, members of trade union as their employers, as their employees.
Yes.
It is optional to become a member. It
Yes.
is optional. So if your company is having more trade union members as employees, when there's industrial action, it becomes a problem. And if your rival company or your competitors do not have does not have or do not have that much you have,
Yes.
then it won't affect them as it's going to affect you.
Yes, I guess.
Okay. A firm's cost and flexibility will also be adversely affected by overtime bans and work to rule action. So the cost of firms would increase if workers choose to use work to rule. They won't do extra, they won't go extra mile for you.
Yes.
And that means workers become inflexible, they become rigid. So they are not flexible anymore. And this could affect your company. Is it clear?
Yes.
Trade unions, however, can provide benefits to the firms. It is less time consuming, less stressful, and hence cheaper to negotiate with workers as a group than to negotiate with each worker individually. The advantage about trade unions is that one, when they are negotiating, it is less time consuming. Because when in the course of negotiating, they negotiate for all members, not individuals. Unlike if you have to negotiate with your workers, you have to negotiate with them one by one, yes or no?
Yes.
The trade union can negotiate for everybody at a time.
Yes.
Do you get the point?
Yes.
Unions also provide a useful channel of communication between employers and workers. So the trade union is also what? The middleman, the link between the employers and the employees. Clear?
Yes.
They often encourage workers to engage in education and training, which raises productivity and promotes improved health and safety. The trade union also encourage their members, they talk to their members, they influence their members to go for education and training programs so that they will be able to negotiate a better salary for them. So the trade union will talk to them like, you guys, you need qualifications too, you need trainings too, you need more skills. So if you are able to get all these things, it becomes easier for us to be able to negotiate for you. Do you get it?
Yes. I guess.
They also provide an outlet to vent workers. Outlet to vent workers as it is content and channel their grievance to the employers, thereby reducing conflict. So the trade union, like I told you, they are the middleman between the employers and the employees, right?
Yes.
So they are also what? The channel that the employers or the employees dispatch their anger. What their dissatisfaction about their employers or about their employees. So if your employers are not happy with you, they could report you to the trade union. They could need to talk to your trade union. They could need to talk to the trade union. And if you're not happy with your employers, you can go through your trade union to talk to them. Is it clear?
Yes, I guess.
And the last one, unions can also benefit non-unionized labor, as any improvement in pay and working conditions usually applies to non-members also. So another advantage is that the trade union, being a member of a trade union, you can also help those that are not members. Because when you negotiate salary increase for members, it can also affect the non-members. Because you won't increase the salary of A without increasing the salary of B, in as much as they are the same. If that is done, that is discrimination. Is it clear?
Yes.
Go down. Trade unions and government.
It's like a good thing for the firms and bad thing for the firms and good thing for the employees.
But both of them, if you look at it very well, thoroughly, it's also good for the firms.
Yeah, because if the employees doesn't do well, they will report them.
Because and if the firms It means that employees could even go for training and skills that employers do not need to pay for. You get it?
Yes, yes.
Now, trade unions and government. The role and importance of trade unions varies across the world. In fact, in some countries, including Saudi Arabia, trade unions are illegal. Industrial workers in Pakistan have the right to form trade unions, but a number of laws restrict their actions and hence their effectiveness. So what they're saying is that
What's the illegal?
illegal
Illegal.
is not backed by law. Government says no to it. So and this reduces the power of the trade union. Because government must say yes.
Yes, but if it say yes, that will.
If government says no, that means employers will not respect them, and they won't be scared of them. They won't be able to pressurize employers. You get it?
Yes, yes.
So, the second paragraph, trade union membership. Trade union membership as a percentage of the labor force is relatively high in Mauritius and approximately, okay, what they are saying here, let's just go to the top part. Trade unions are more. Well, the point here is that in different countries, the power of trade union varies. In some countries, the trade union are so powerful. In other countries, the trade union are less powerful. That is the point there. Is it clear? That's all about it. We'll go to the multiple choice questions.
Yes.
The first one says, so the first question says, in which circumstance is a trade union most likely to be able to raise the wages of its members? When will a trade union be able to negotiate for wage increase for its members?
Yes.
In which circumstance
Yes, yes, yes.
is a trade union most likely to be able to raise the wages?
Yes. I think it's to place workers on machines. See.
The question says, in which circumstance is a trade union most likely
Yes.
to be able to raise the wages of its members?
Yes, it's B. I think.
It is easy to replace unionized labor with non-unionized. If that is easy, then it will be good for firms.
I was going to say C, but
It is not. The answer is D.
D.
Yeah, the share of labor cost in total cost is low. If the cost of labor is low, that means firms can afford to pay workers.
Because the cost, yeah.
Do you understand?
Yes, yes.
That was the first question. The second one, which measure of strike activity indicates workers' sentiment about the strike?
The number of sorry.
What? Which measure of strike activity indicates workers' sentiment about the strike?
What sentiment means? Sentiment.
Sentiment means what they go against, what they feel about it.
Yeah.
Which measure of strike activity indicates workers' sentiment about the strike?
The works B. The number of workers involved.
Number of workers involved. B. Yes. The third question.
Yes.
Which of the following is not a function of trade union?
Function of trade union. Yeah, B.
B.
Yeah.
Increasing shareholders' dividend. It's not their problem.
Yes.
The last question. A trade union is pressing for a wage rise for its members. Which of the following would increase its chances of being successful? That means the trade union now is negotiating with employers.
Yes.
So what will make the trade union be able to be successful in the wage claim?
Hey.
An increase in productivity, yes.
That's going from down to up, not from up to
Okay,
down.
yes, so that's all about that.
So we do some of the firms because firms is a lot.
Hold on, please.